If you want news and rumors that appeal, welcome to the Dusty Wheel.
Hey, welcome back to the Dusty Wheel.
If you want news and rumors that appeal, welcome to the Dusty Wheel.
Hey, welcome back to the Dusty Wheel.
Hey, welcome back to the Dusty Wheel. I'm your host, the Innkeeper, and this is our live call and talk show all about the Wheel of Time. And we're back for a little chat on a Sunday afternoon. That's right. We haven't done these as often, but we are going to be doing them a little bit more, maybe over the next weekend. Yes, I'll probably be back next Sunday talking to you about a topic that's interesting to the story itself, something I wish I would have done or discussed earlier before this season actually began. But that's not what you're here to discuss today. We're going to be talking all about this season and episode 6 with two new guests here at the Dusty Wheel. It's my pleasure to welcome to the show MVH. How are you both doing, Matt and Shannon?
Hi.
You ready?
Hey.
That's right. I like to let people just kind of like, so some people would like give me a double jazz hands or something like that, and some people would be like, hey, yeah, there you go. So thank you both for being here. Let me give everyone a reminder in chat. If you came just to see these two wonderful people, you've never read the books before, that's okay for the next 10 to 15 minutes in chat. Everyone's going to be good in chat. They're not going to spoil book things for the first 10 to 15 minutes. We're going to let everyone just kind of relax, chill into this conversation. Then about 15 minutes from now, we'll be like, hey, we're going to go full book spoilers. Oh, sorry, I do have the full book spoiler spanner up. Yes, someone's going to tell me in chat. It says full book spoilers. No full book spoilers right now until, like I said, about 15 minutes into the conversation. And then we'll let anyone who wants to leave that doesn't want any book spoilers. And then chat can talk about book spoilers. We won't, of course. We will just stay with the show. But then chat will be able to pepper their conversations with things they want to, things they notice, things they want to say to everyone in chat, but not to you two, obviously. And just as a reminder for those that are watching, there's no call-ins today. Even if in my description I said call-in lines will be open, because that was probably just me normally writing stuff that I normally write. I'm not going to have you call in today. If there is a question that I'll open up to people that are watching right now, it'll be in chat. If you want to ask, Matt and Shannon a question, don't ask just yet because I will miss your question. It'll just fly by and I won't catch it. So, okay, that's everything. Matt and Shannon, welcome to the Dusty Wheel. So, so why don't you do like a little bit of an intro to your channel, what it is you do, and how you got into doing reactions to TV shows and such. Like, what was your origin story for your channel?
You can go first.
You want me to go ahead?
You went first. So.
So this started back before she was my wife, like well before, when I was watching a bunch of reactors just do things, and I would always talk to my friends at the time. Like it was around 2016 or so. I would talk to my friends at the time about anything. Like I go to the movies and I would just ramble and rant about things. And, I was studying film at the time and studying like, all the ins and outs, and big comic book reader. So I'm like, you know what, maybe I should turn that into something. So I started reacting, and then those who were on the channel for like years ago, my mother and I used to react to a show on the CW called The Flash. And we did that every Wednesday. We would post reactions up, and that would start to build a channel up. And then I started moving on to other shows from that point. And then I think it was like maybe a month before Wheel of Time. Then before even that, like I met my wife, and when we were dating at the time, I brought her onto the channel to this kind of experiment. Like we spoke about it, and I asked her if she'd be comfortable to get on, and like what was like your reaction when I asked?
Well, going off that, I'll get a little bit into like when I started, because he had brought me on initially, and I was like, okay, because like when I was growing up, I was always on YouTube, like I was watching YouTube, and I'm like, this is what I want to do when I'm older, and then I just never had the like drive to actually do it. So when I met Matthew, and he was like, oh yeah, I do YouTube, I'm like, oh, that's really cool, like I always wanted to. And I think it was maybe 6 months or so into us like actually being together and dating that are like, all right, well, let's do this. So and then it wasn't until like 2020, I think. Well, I actually started live streaming first on Twitch.
It was like Jedi Fallen Order, right?
Yeah. So
nice.
I started doing that, and then ended up upgrading, got a PC, and I'm like, all right, let's give this YouTube thing a try. So and
we went from there, and that was that.
And
Wheel of Time, I think I started doing, so I don't even remember how it happened. I remember seeing the trailers just like on like Fire TV, and I was like, what the heck is this? I'm like, what is this thing? I'm like, this looks really cool. And like I was already into fantasy, I was already into all that, so I was like, this is like a new thing, I never heard of this. And I watched the first 3 episodes when Amazon like was sending things out to critics and whatnot, so I watched it. And luckily, I like just joined my critics organization at that time, so everything was being sent. And then they sent it, and I was like, "What is this?" I watched it, and I was like, "Yo, this is really cool." And I made my first video, and then I put my wife on. I'm like, "Yo, babe, you got to watch this show. Like, this show's amazing." And then she started covering it on her own channel, and then here we are. We decided season 2 to do it together on this one. Yeah.
That's awesome. I mean, I know how much fans have reacted and loved your reactions. You're both very kind of passionate about like what you're liking, what you're not, and your reactions. I think I'm a terrible reactor. Like I do, like when I've done some like just this season doing some live watch, and people will like write in the comments. They'll just be like, "Could you react to something?" Because like the whole time I'm just like intensely staring at my own screen. But I really like how much you talk through the things that you're experiencing, and you touch on things that are near and dear to my heart, because the things I love about the Wheel of Time is the theorizing. Like what's happened? Like why? What's that detail mean? Does it mean anything? I've walked down and run down or climbed down, whatever you want to call it, so many red herrings, in books and such. So but I just love that experience so much. And so there's something about you both as you react to the Wheel of Time where I just like, it makes me smile, it makes me laugh, it makes me kind of go, wait a second, interesting, So I love that aspect of just your pure reactions themselves and how you do that with the channel. I know a lot of fans have kind of connected with that here. So, and I know a bunch of them are in chat and will come back and watch this later. They'll be like, wait a second, I didn't know this was happening. So I can't wait to see their comments here. But Shannon, for you, is fantasy like a genre that you always have loved? Is this something you've come to love through live streaming?
Honestly,
like, how did you?
Yeah, like it was never really a big thing in my life growing up. Like the most fantasy thing I watched when I was young was Bridge to Terabithia. And so that was like really the only thing. And then I guess Wheel of Time actually kind of reignited that love for that kind of realm, I guess. And then, I got into like Lord of the Rings, and it just went from there. So
did you go back into, so I'm assuming then, Shannon, you went back and watched season 1 then, or you've been watching season 1 the entire time? I can't remember. Okay, you've been watching season 1 the entire time. Okay. Mm-hmm. So for you, having not really, like you said, not just like coming into this with like this deep, like I watch all these shows, what was it that connected for you in the Wheel of Time? Like what was the aspect of it where you're like, actually, I really like this show?
There's a lot. That's a loaded question.
That's what we're here for. I don't know if I know you know how long these live streams are, so that's we all got time. Yeah, go for it.
Matthew and I tend to overanalyze like everything when it comes to like movies, TV shows. So the first thing I even noticed was how beautifully it was shot. Like the cinematography would just like captures you. So
Yeah.
that was the first thing. And then all of these characters are so well written and so relatable in all their own different ways. It really, I felt really drawn into them and wanting to know more about their stories and why they act certain ways, like what is, you know, all of these details mean. So it was really interesting getting to see how the story's been progressing and, you know, just getting thrown off every single minute. So
Yeah.
it's just been a really interesting ride for me.
Yeah, and people are pointing out in chat some things. This is Koala, like said, overanalyzed. There's no such thing. Yeah, that's kind of the truth around here for us, right? Just in fandom in general. I think that's one thing that book fans like me and like others here in chat and you are both recognizing. This is the kind of show that is fun to analyze in the same way that the books are fun to analyze that way and get lost. And one key that you brought up, which is what I if this makes sense, I kind of guessed you might say this, but the idea of characters, right? That is such a common theme. Like the people in the Wheel of Time, there's always like that person that you connect with as you're reading and as you're watching. And they're different sometimes, you know, like there's something visceral about a character that you've just been in like the pages of the books and shows up on a screen and like, you know, like it's a person and they're like moving and stuff. Like it's not just in your head. So, Matt, for you, who's the character then? Like if I had to say number one character you're connecting with in the show, who's it? Who just comes to mind?
Oh, I think easily Perrin for me, especially now, like in season 2. I've always liked like Perrin's story because he was like the married guy in the group. Like he was the guy that like, you know, and like I'm like, you know, the married guy in like most of our friend groups. So it's just like it's always been like, you know, like I remember like in the first season where Matt would specifically make jokes to Perrin about like his relationship and everything like that, like his life's over and all that. Like I've had those jokes thrown at me before. So but his story is something that really like just stands out with me because I see a lot of my quality, like the same like qualities that I have. I think I share it with Perrin in a way. And like I feel like I can see myself in him in a lot of ways. So Perrin would be one of them, yeah.
So outside, so I totally see that. That's a really I had never hit on that in the show where you talked about Perrin being married and just like how that could appeal from a viewer standpoint. Like, oh yeah, like other people out there, you know, that his experience is going to be different. Right, his experience would be different than his friends, than Matt's experience, and Egwen's and Rand's. So yeah, that's a really excellent point. And sorry, that's just making me like go like now I'm like reanalyzing the show in my head. And I'm like, oh, good job, writers, that I didn't doing something that subtly that I didn't see you doing in that. But you said there's other characteristics other than him being married. What is it you see from Perrin in yourself?
His kindness, I guess. He's always willing, at least just from the show, he's always been willing to put himself above others. And I mean, my wife can say if that's true for me or not, but I felt like I've always been that way. I feel like I've always, like with my family, I'm like the older, like I'm like the eldest like child. And I've always just kind of been like trying to make sure that everyone else could be taken care of. And, you know, I would do anything for my family and my friends that I love. So I feel like Perrin, that's a big quality of his is his caring and, you know, his love for his friends and willing to do everything for them. And we've seen that throughout a lot of the episodes that he's been in, especially in season 2 with his moments with Elias, too. He's always thinking about his friends. So, yeah, I think that's another quality of his that I share deeply.
Yeah, I love that. There's something like internalized about Perrin's thought process you can see in the show, you know, and I've always felt like I don't know if this makes sense. There's other characters where I'm like, oh, they seem to have like this character's having some fun. That fun looks interesting, but I've always been like, but if I had to chart myself, Perrin is also somebody where I'd be like, but no, that's if I had to like say who was I more akin to from a personality standpoint, I also feel that. I'm gonna ask that to. Let me ask our chatters out there. Hope you're all watching here. I'm gonna end this poll. I'm not gonna explain this poll. I'm not gonna tell them. Everybody can see the poll in chat. It's a funny. It is a relevant poll, but I don't want to explain what it is just yet to you both as my guests. So we'll talk about that one later. But I want to ask, do you relate? How do I ask this with only 4 options? YouTube bugs me sometime with their polls. It's like 4.
Yeah,
there should be 5 options.
5 or 6. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. How about this? Who do you think? There we go. I'll ask that question. They'll have fun with that one. This is just a funny. This will be a funny joke between me and everyone in chat. But this is this goes along with our conversation. So for those of you that are watching right now, like as you can tell, we really haven't gotten into too much heavy chat. So we haven't just moved, I would say, full book just yet for in chat itself. But we'll tell you here probably in the next 5 or 10 minutes or so. But maybe jump to you, Shannon, on the same question. You brought up this characters were like meaningful to you in the show. Has there been one, and you can choose, all the way from season 1 all the way up to season 2, episode 6. Has there been one that you've connected with kind of and said, oh, this is really kind of who either I like the most to watch, or it's more like this feels like someone I can relate to?
Yeah, I feel like for me, it's really depending on where they're at in the story, because I relate to them in all different ways, depending on, where they are, like what's happening at the time. Yeah. Like, you just brought up Perrin, with his story right now is very interesting to me. And I'm like seeing things from his perspective and relating to how he's feeling about, just everything, just his whole situation right now is just is just something I'm really feeling out. And there's other times where I'll relate to Moraine with her feeling of just not being able to do what she could before, and feeling almost helpless. So there's definitely a lot of different like feelings and different of me relating to characters at certain points. So it's hard to pinpoint exactly who I would relate to the most or who I would feel for the most.
So that's a great answer for all of us, which is, like that is the most real kind of experience that we all have, that I think we share across show fans, if you will, like show viewers and book readers, whatever you want to say. That is to say, it's weird. Like I've read the books a lot of times and over since like 1990. So that makes me really old, right? Like I've read the books for like 3 decades. And that is the experience. Like as I go back and read the books, that I'm like, oh, I'm just not feeling this character right now. But this character is going through something. And I'm really kind of relating to what they're going through, or the way they're thinking about this, or the struggle that they're having. So I think that's one of the things. Yeah. What were you going to say?
No. So I was just kind of murmuring. So I was going to say that's a really good point, because it has me thinking too. Because like ironically, even Matt, I've seen a lot of myself in Matt too. Ironically, like just being like feeling, like him also being like the eldest sibling, and I guess being the feeling of abandonment and feeling like you can't contribute to anything, and that your efforts won't really mean much. I've had a lot of moments in my life where I feel like that. So I think that was a good thing that you said about that, because it's true. Like every character has a different thing that we can all see ourselves in.
And those things change, just like as you can tell, they're changing significantly for a variety of characters. Like this has changed from season 1 to season 2, and even throughout the season, that's going to happen even more. So I've really appreciated that is a true kind of book experience, and to me, a true kind of show experience. So I think that's really cool. So now, I know we've kind of like danced around some of these topics of just like characters. I'm going to ask this one because it's kind of on the surface, and then we're going to dig a little bit deep into some of your reactions here. Favorite episode so far across the entire series. Shannon, go.
Gosh, put me on the spot.
Yeah. That's what I do around here. That's what I get to do.
Gosh. That's really
Gives me
hard.
time to think about it. While you
Yeah, I'm usually the one that gets asked second. So I'm like, all right, I have time to think about this. I don't even know what my favorite episode would be. Gosh. Because I've just been seeing it as a whole. I haven't been seeing it episodically. Because for me, like throughout season 1 and 2, there has not been a single episode that just stood out more than the others. I've just been enjoying it as a whole and not necessarily like, oh, I like this moment, and there are some like that. But...
Okay, so if I had to ask you then, okay, give me then is there a general arc that you've enjoyed more? You know, let's say it's the Aes Sedai and the White Tower, or is it, you know, is it the kind of the split up of, you know, some of these friends and going into different, you know, parts of the world? Is there one of these where it's like, no, I think the Warders themselves has been an interesting kind of arc itself? Does something like that stand out to you?
I mean, you just pointed out all the things that I've been like. I think for me overall, I think Perrin and Egwen's stories, both throughout season 1 and season 2, have really been standing out. Because they've developed so much and become very different people than they were in season 1.
Yeah.
So their whole story, especially Perrin this season, with everything that's happening with him, with the Wolf brothers, and, you know, that's been really interesting to me. And I've been like waiting to see more and see how that all works. So I think probably Perrin's whole thing.
I wish I had it like right at my fingertips. Oh, I bet you I could find it really quick. I'm gonna see if I can. Let's see. Is this the one? I don't know if this is the one. Hold on, everybody. This might be. Oh, this is the one. Look at that. I just picked that out of nowhere. That was cool.
It's the skill. It's the skill.
This is thanks to Kate out there. I'm going to use one of Kate's clips. You just brought up Perrin and Egwen's, and like I have to ask you kind of about this particular scene. Let me see if I can get there. Hold on here. Okay. Oh man, here we go. Okay, let's watch a little bit of this. Is episode. Shoot, now I'm losing it. I think this is episode 3. I don't know. You can all tell me if I'm wrong on this one. Here we go.
You'll lose the taste for cooked flesh soon enough. He likes you.
What's his name?
He'll show you when he's ready.
I love this.
We've had our eye on you for a long time. You're lucky we were there to save you and that girl from the White Cloaks.
That was you? Huh?
You've been sending us images for months now. He lost his mate too. He mourns her still. We all see her when you sleep.
Why did you wait so long to come to me? If you've been following me for months.
We don't go near women who can channel.
Why not?
Aes Sedai don't trust what they don't understand. Neither does any other human.
Hopper. That's his name.
Close enough.
Close enough. I love that. Oh my gosh, this one you brought up Perrin and Perrin's storyline and just how it's evolved a little bit. That to me, that is a great freaking sequence. I don't know if that's how you felt about that one, Shannon, but yeah, like when Hopper, and he can kind of see Hopper jumping, and that's how he communicated his name there. That was just anyways, a great moment. Where I like that arc is really coming together. I like the story of Perrin, especially in season 2, is really is a highlight for me too. Just like watching these shows, so I'm glad that one is connected with you. Matt, is there one? I mean, I know Perrin obviously is someone that you associate with. Is there either favorite episode or is there kind of an arc that's really been hitting with you? And before you answer that question, yes, everyone in chat. For those of you that are just watching this and you're like, no, this is a compelling conversation, I don't want to know anything about the books, now is the time to leave the chat. That's right, everybody. We're going to go full book spoilers in chat. Hopefully you're hearing this out there. We are obviously just going to talk about the show, but full book spoilers in chat. So give everyone a second to kind of to leave here shortly. But yes, you can now talk about the books that you love in chat also. And I'm going to end this poll out there. I asked everybody, who do they think I'm more like? I find this really rude because I asked Perrin, Matt, Rand, or Lanfear, and they picked Lanfear as their one. That is correct. Rude people in chat, right? Exactly. But yes, so full book spoilers in chat. I'll let them go. Matt, back to kind of that question for you. Yeah, favorite episode and favorite arc.
Yeah, so like with what Shannon said, like I just see everything as one big piece. Like when I watched Sandman, it's like this is why I find it hard to like review specific episodes based on whether or not like, you know, the story's good or not. Like, because it's a chapter, it's a small piece. So I like to view the whole collective as a bigger piece. So to elaborate on that, like I feel like it's been the whole entire process is just leading to one big thing. Obviously, there's like 14 books, correct? There's a lot
14
of books.
main series. Yep,
it's a lot of stories to try to compile in a show. So I think for me, one of the moments that does stand out to me and still does stand out to me is in season 1. I forgot exactly what episode this was, but when Nynaeve had her first like really big moment on the show, and she like saved everyone, and it was like this big thing, and it was just like because that was still in the early stage where we were trying to figure out what everyone can do. And then when we saw that, I'll never forget my reaction was just like, what the heck? I was like, what is this? And I felt like Logain in that situation, like what on earth is what am I looking at right now? So yeah, if I had to name one moment, I would say that's one of the ones that still stick with me.
Yeah, that was, and I remember the reaction in that moment, just fandom, people watching that show. That was like one of the I think it was season 1, episode 4. Huge moment for the TV show, and just huge moment for the characters involved. And like you said, added some like, what was that? So explain to us now. You've watched what at this point 14 episodes of The Wheel of Time. You have only watched the show. Tell me, Matt, what was that? What happened? Like, how would you explain with your knowledge of The Wheel of Time right now? What was that happened?
I don't know. It's like Nynaeve is a big question mark for me, even at this point in the show. I mean, I have theories that I've vocalized in videos before in the moment. Like I can't pinpoint which specific ones, but like we've been going back and forth as to what that could be. How does her abilities work? How it's gonna play into the overall story? But Nynaeve is such a big question mark to me. I really just don't know what to really say about that, other than like what we've said in videos numerous times about her just having a lot of power, a lot of energy, and it's like I don't know, it's like kind of like a late bloomer thing. I don't know. I forgot what I don't know. It was like, I don't know. It's like, someone can go like, I don't know, like 13 years and they're like 5'2", and then one day all of a sudden they're like 6'3", and it's like their voice is deep and they have beard, and this is like it happened overnight. Like,
right.
It's like our nephew is like he's just he just grew out of nowhere. So I don't know. I think I see Nynaeve in that kind of way, because she's like at least in the show they told us that she's been one of the ones it's rare to see an Aes Sedai in her position, being how old she is and also being as powerful as she is at this age, not showing any signs of channeling at all up until that moment. And so I feel like everyone else, I feel like all the other Aes Sedai, we're just like they don't know. We don't know what to do.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
You feel like you're right there with them, which is
Yeah.
I have no idea where this is going to go, and you're kind of feeling that same energy from other people in the show, which is like what happens here. Shannon, do you have any kind of theories about Nynaeve, and what that kind of that late bloomer kind of power means, or where you expect it to go?
We've been going back and forth about this, and we cannot pinpoint a single thing about what that even could be.
Okay.
Like maybe something in her ancestral line, or like I really have no idea. So it's just been a lot of theories being thrown back and forth, and like, okay, maybe this, or no, that doesn't make sense, and like, or how about this one? It's like maybe. So it's just been a lot of questions and like no answers just yet.
Sure. That makes sense. Now, I do wonder, are you writing these theories down as you go? Like the stuff you say, the stuff you talk about, like, are you keeping a log of them for like afterwards? Like, oh yes, this was right, or I want to go back and think about this. Or is it more just like you're just enjoying the moment, you're throwing out some ideas, but it's not like you're keeping track? Are you both like, Matt? I know you guys. I remember you saying you're taking notes during. Are you like going back and looking at these things later on and really? Okay.
Yeah, I do. I mean, like we just take. I just take the notes and.
Yeah, we have them all on his phone. So like,
okay.
If we had something like, let's say for episode 6, if we had something that would have related back to episode 1, we're like, all right, let me go look at this, and it's like, all right, I remember what we were saying at this point.
Yeah.
So let's bring that back up now and see how it changed. And
or even like Rima's name, like I didn't remember her name in that moment, so I was like, what's her name? And I went back to the previous episode notes. I every time I get a name drop, I've been doing this season, every time I get a name drop, as best as I can, because sometimes you don't have subtitles on, so as best as I can, I write it down the way that I hear it, and then if I get like, I look at the cast list on the side or something, because we learn now not to go on Google. But got spoiled.
Yes, do not go on Google. That is correct.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I think this season specifically, I've been keeping notes. So yeah.
Okay, so then, do you have favorite theories at this moment? Is there like one thing where you're like, when I say favorite, I just mean like the thing you really want to know, or the thing you've kind of just attached yourself around an idea where you're like, this is mine, and I've got to be right, and I just want the show to kind of reveal it. I want to give you a second to think about it. Do you have an idea like that, or do you know of each other's version of that? If you can't think of one of your own, or do you both? I know, Shannon, I put you on the spot last time. Matt, is there one where you're like, this is something I really believe is the case. I don't have enough information to maybe prove it out, but I'm hoping that this is the case of where things are going or what's happening.
So to clarify this, because this has been kind of like a miscommunication thing in videos. Everything I say, I never die on that hill. Gotcha. I am open to being completely wrong. Like, I might be super strong about an opinion in the moment.
Yeah.
Because I might be like, okay, like this plus this equals that. It has to be that. But then on the other hand of that, I'm okay not being right about it. So I don't think there's any specific theory that I'm like, I have to be right about this. Like, I really want this to come forth, because I view everything with the scientific method. Let's test it out.
Okay.
Let's see what happens, and then I'll have some theories based on what I know about the periodic table. And then if I'm wrong, and this is that, then that's that. That's the answer. That's okay, Matt. That's for me. Yeah.
I just want to tell you that I am a die on the hill kind of person.
There's only certain circumstances I might do that, though. I guess it depends if I have like previous knowledge.
No, I was going to say, I think that's a great way for you to, especially to enjoy this. And that is to say, after reading like the book so many times, there's things even then where I'm like, no, this is right. And I know that I've put together all the facts on it and I'm pretty sure about this thing. And then people might tell you in the future, I guess there are some things that maybe I believe that might even be wrong that I'm still holding on to. But that's just, I think, from like 3 decades of just enjoying like talking to people about this. But no, I totally get it. I think that that's really a good way to kind of interface again with the show and just enjoy it and not get like too caught up in the details.
Yeah.
But beyond that, like Die on the Hill, is there just one that you've kind of had fun with that you've just enjoyed? Not that you'll die on the hill with it.
Yeah. Well, just to touch based on the Die on the Hill part is, I mean, I understand your perspective being in like this is like your thing. You're really have a lot of knowledge about this. I will maybe be a Die on the Hill if it's about music, because we talked briefly about music before this and like me being a musician and everything. If it's a music conversation or a comic book conversation, I know a lot about those things.
Okay.
So that's probably one of those moments where I'd be like, no, it has to it has to be this. But to answer your question, I really want to know more about the Seanchan in general. I have a lot of theories about them.
Okay. Yeah.
About their culture, about how they operate. I have a lot of questions that are going in my mind about like how the hierarchy works. How does people in position of power, like how does it weave without being a pun here? How does it weave into their culture?
Sure.
And how they operate. So I just have a lot of questions about the Seanchan in general.
It's a good pun, by the way. We all use the pun. It's totally appropriate. You shouldn't feel weird about it. Just settle into it. It works. I do it every time. Like, when we have live call-in talk show portion where the callers, I'm always like, I will weave you in. It's just a fun one. It's a fun one to say. The Seanchan. Okay, yeah, the Seanchan is understandably just because obviously we're getting to know a little bit more about them. So I'm going to come back, think about this, Matt, like, is there a particular aspect where like, this is something that is like, somewhere you're like, I hope they develop this. I want to know. Or did you have
how I say it? Because I think it's that, I mean, it's a theory question. I mean, we know we say it's a loaded question because it is, because like I have a lot of different theories. I want to see how it goes, like specifically with Matt. I've always addressed Matt in the recent episodes.
Yeah.
I have a strong feeling about him without knowing anything in the books. I have a strong feeling about him, and it's either a really good one or a really scary one, and I don't know where to go, but I have a really strong feeling about Matt and what I want to see with his character, especially with his potential and what potential powers he may or may not have. So
okay.
I don't know if Shan has anything she wants to
add.
I'm with you on that.
If you want to add anything.
I'm completely with you on that. Because I keep going back to the one line is like, oh, Matt's been mine since he was born.
Yeah, oh yeah.
So we've had a lot of debates on that about what that means exactly. Is like, oh, has he had him under his wing since he was born? Has he just been keeping an eye on him? Like,
were we like talking about that today, like off camera, or like last night
or yesterday? Yeah,
we talk about Wheel of Time all the time, even off camera. Yeah, we talk about it
because I'll like me or him will like just think of something. It's like, wait a minute, like let's run that back real quick.
Yeah.
And I mean, every week we rewatch the previous episode before we watch the newest episode, and we're like, all right, wait a minute, let me take note of this for later, because we missed this. Like, this is gonna come back up.
Yeah.
So
every week. Yeah.
Every week.
Okay. I mean, this feels like, Matt's coming up here. This feels like a topic, and let's dig into it a little bit. Okay. So I just want you guys to give me answers on this. Has the dark one, if you will, right, been like you just brought this idea of Matt's been, whatever the comment Shamil made from birth or something like that, whatever it was. Do you think that like Matt's been somehow connected to, been on the radar of, since birth? Was that to you? Was that a direct, like, that? Is there truth to that statement? Shannon, do you think there is truth to that statement?
So for me, I feel like Matt has been connected to the Dark One in a certain way. Not sure what exactly that way is. Whether it's, whether it's Matt's like his puppet or what.
No. I just thought of something, but I'll wait for you to finish.
That's exactly what happens whenever we talk about this. It's like I don't know if like Matt's like almost his puppet, or if the Dark One's like feeding magic into Matt somehow. Like I really don't know the extent of how it would work. And I've seen like in our comments, like when we talk about this, it's like, oh, something's getting there. But just you wait. So it's just been really interesting, like theorizing about Matt specifically.
Yeah, I like I like where you're going here with this, Matt. For you, do you feel like there is some kind of connection?
So my eyes just popped open in the middle of her speaking because like the words just kind of hit me. He's been mine ever since he was born. What does that mean? Now this might be far-reaching, okay, but I'm going back to season 1. This might you guys might laugh in the comments, okay? What if
they never laugh at people in the comments.
Oh, okay.
No one does that. No one does that. Go ahead. Feel free, like you can say it. Don't
I feel like the thought that came into my mind was, what if Matt is literally his child?
Okay.
I was
thinking about it because I'm like, we've seen in season 1 that his Matt's biological father, we don't know the connection there, but his father literally does not pay any attention to his family.
Mm-hmm.
Like he flaunts with other women publicly. He's not giving attention to his wife. It's totally possible for me, and my like the way I'm viewing it, that I don't know, he could have in some way manipulated someone to literally create a person to carry his blood in a way. I don't know what that means. I that's just kind of what popped into my mind.
That thought's kind of been in the back of my head.
Yeah, like what if that's actually his child in a way? If not, if not biologically, like through blood, maybe through like, I don't know, through some type of essence or some sort. I don't know. That's just what popped in my mind there.
So if that even is even a possibility, then what would you think then when it comes to what's then in the future for Matt? Like, do you consider Matt to be, what's the word? Like, yeah, of the side of the shadow, if you will. Like, is there something there that you go, yeah, yes, but no? Like, how are you defining then with this idea that maybe he's somehow connected? What does that mean for who Matt is as a person to you both?
I think for me, Matt is very conflicted. And I feel like at the state he's at right now, he just wants to be wanted. So if it were to come like a situation where he was torn between the two, like he he might taste a little bit of the dark, taste a little bit of the light, and see, what's gonna give him the most motivation to go towards either side. Because he's just in a dark place right now. Yeah. And he's trying to it's like he's trying to crawl his way out. And he's lightening up a bit more now that he's he's out, and it's he's reunited with Rand, and everything seems to be going good until Min tells him what's up. He's just a very conflicted person, so I really don't know if the case were to come up which direction he would go.
To add on to that, I think I see, as you talking here too, when you talked about him like being like either this or that way, I literally see Matt like Dream of the Endless in the Sandman. For some reason he's giving me that vibe, because Dream is neither good nor bad. Like he's the king of nightmares, and he's the king of dreams. Like he can give you some really crazy nightmares that'll scare you and make you do some crazy things, but he can also give you some really peaceful stuff. So I kind of see Matt as like, the power that I wield is neither good or bad. You know,
do with it.
And even Ishamel talked about it in the first episode too, and he was like, you think I'm a monster? Do you think people have all kinds of names for me? So I think it's really about perspective. I think Matt could really, like, I don't know. At least I hope, what I want is for him to kind of be that way, I guess, or he can tap into some of those darker energies, but use it for good or bad, and just kind of have a duality kind of situation. So
keep going. We're good. No, that's just good. No, that's like, I was totally like, I'm loving the thought process behind this, and because because we do have that question, right? Like that question is most clearly the one that the show is asking us. Like, what is going on with this character, and what is the foundation of why they're making decisions, and how are they touching, or touched by, or they connected to, or somehow involved by with the shadow. I mean, we get that whole like plot with Liandrin, and like Liandrin's like trying to use Min to hold on to Matt, and now we're getting things revealed about Liandrin. And then we have that whole sequence between Matt and Min, which is like tragic is like, I don't know if that's the right word. I'm trying to think what the right word is for that. Let me see if I can find that one. Yeah, like just sucks is a good way to say that. Let's watch this. This is the brutal thing because he had just left. Oh man, yeah. Here we go. Let's watch this scene here, everyone. I love it when Matt leaves and he says "Dragon Reborn." That's my favorite thing. He's just leaving his friend like, here we go. 1 second. I'll turn the audio up here, so sorry. You can all kind of hear what's going on.
Min. You got company?
Some of the others.
Min.
Come in.
Wow. Who pissed in your drink and charged you twice?
You know I'd only pay double for the best.
And that is how I remember you. Incredibly low standards, but never for booze. Guess who I just ran into? My mate, who I've been telling you about. He's here.
You can't go.
I haven't told you that I'm leaving.
I saw it.
No. I've already told you I
You
don't
kill
want-
him. You kill Rand.
No.
Yeah, with that dagger. The ruby on the golden hilt.
No.
In Farm, that's where he wants you to go, right?
No. How do you know Rand?
Oh, I love that moment.
You set me up. Yeah? And that's why we're here. Because of him.
I didn't mean to. I didn't know that.
For how long since we left? No. Before we met.
Sorry.
I genuinely thought you were my friend.
I am. I am. That's why I'm telling you. You don't know what this is costing me. You kill him, Matt. If you love him, stay away.
Oh man, so good. We just watched the first sequence we watched with Perrin. That was a friggin' amazing scene. I love this scene so much. I was watching your reactions as that was going. Shannon, Matt's moment here. We have to ask this question. I think because doesn't Min say you kill him basically?
Mm-hmm.
Does Matt kill Rand in your mind? Like, is that actually going to happen?
So we have discussed this in a video actually, is that, I don't know if he actually does kill Rand.
Okay.
Or, people have seen visions in the show many times. So it could be just a version of him that is getting killed, or, just an actual psychologic thing where it's like, oh, killing a part of yourself. So I don't think he physically is going to kill Rand, in my mind at least. So I feel like Rand has this big purpose in the show, as well as Matt. So I feel like the two of them might butt heads, but I don't think he would actually kill him.
Gotcha. So the way you're explaining it is, like you said, it's a vision of something that, but it's not necessarily like, because I think I heard you both talking about this before. It's like, it's not reflecting maybe this, it's reflecting something else. Is that the idea?
Yeah.
Like, is that where you're at too, Matt? Like, you're like, no,
Yeah.
like this can't happen, or
I mean,
yeah,
yeah,
go for it.
I mean, yes and no. I mean, I mean, in general, like with my life in general, like everything I do can have like 10 different outcomes depending on which path you take, or if you play,
Okay.
if you guys are role, RPG fans and you play Baldur's Gate or you play any D&D and everything, anything can happen really. The DM can create anything, and you never know how you're gonna roll. Things gonna just change. So I feel like with Matt's situation with him, in terms of killing, will he kill Rand? I think it's possible. I think that could happen, but he's the dragon. He might not die. He might. The stab could mean it. The stab could mean a ton of things. She stabs him, but does stab mean death? Not always. Doesn't always mean stab. Doesn't always mean death. She could have stabbed him, and that's all. That's the only part of the vision that she saw. She didn't see the after credit. She didn't stick around for the mid credit scene. So she didn't stick around to see what happened after that. Rand could have got up completely fine, or maybe it's a situation where maybe this vision causes that vision. The vision causes her to tell him, which causes him to do the vision in a way where it's like, okay, look, I'm gonna kill you, but I have to kill you. So let me pretend to kill you. Let me pretend to kill you so we can maybe trick these people into thinking that, they got the better of me. Or, that could be another option. Or maybe they've mentioned plenty of times in the show that, or Min has mentioned, at least either she mentioned this or someone else mentioned that she can only see, she sees threads. She doesn't see the whole picture. She can be just like with us. Or if you watch a show like Loki, I think I mentioned Loki in our reaction, that there can be many outcomes, many different threads. This is the Wheel of Time. They mentioned that there's different turnings of the wheel. So it could just be a possible option of what could have happened. I don't think Min herself even fully can say that she knows for certain what will happen. So that's just where my mind's at concerning the stabbing. I mean,
I like
it's main character.
By the way, just this conversation we're having is, and I can tell you guys have fun with this on your live reactions. This is like pure joy, fun for me, right? Like, because no, I think you're right. Like, there's a variety of ways that you could interpret what has just been seen, and it's really interesting to see where they might go with this. I'm not going to tell you the poll I'd asked everyone. This poll I put in chat was meant to be just a fun kind of wink to my audience here, but I'm going to end that one for them. And I am going to ask you to help me put together this poll for our audience. This one I want to know, which is for them, which of these things do they think is true? So, like, which of the theories about Matt killing Rand do you lean towards most? Or do you like most? How about that? Okay, so what I heard was this is like stab but doesn't kill. That was one of them, I think. It was like, okay, yeah, like that's going to happen, but it doesn't actually kill him. Then I heard it was, I think it was Shannon, what was the one you brought up? I'm
Like a
struggling.
vision.
Okay, it was more figurative than.
Yeah.
Is that what you meant?
Psychological,
Like,
right?
Yeah,
okay,
psychological. There's the word.
figurative. Okay, like I see what you're saying. I totally am gonna spell psychological wrong because this thing doesn't have. Man, I hate when I get put on the spot for like. I don't know why that one.
We've come so dependent on spell check now. It's
I
like,
know.
I can't type without it.
I think that's right. I think I got it right. If people can make fun of me in chat, that's fine. And then there was the idea of like maybe seeing like is this what you were saying? Seeing like a different turning? Is that what you meant by that, Matt? Were you like?
Oh yeah. That was
Okay.
one of the things. Yeah, just a different turning, a different possible outcome.
Different turning. And was there a fourth one here, like that we can throw out there? Stab and not kill, figurative, psychological, different turning, or like?
I mentioned that it was a plan that he told Rand about.
Gotcha.
The stabbing, and they reenacted in a theatrical way.
And so I'm going to say to that first one, then not planned, stab but not kill. And then this planned is like, is that what you mean? Like a stab but not kill, not planned versus stab but not kill is a plan. Is that what you mean? Kind of the variation of that?
Yeah. Stab and not kill, not planned, and stab and not kill planned.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Those are the 4 on the table for everyone watching. Let's find out which of these theories about Mat killing Rand do you like most. Here we go. We'll start that poll. Awesome. Mat is a really, really interesting character. I love that you're kind of like, and I think you asked a great question, which is, you were like, or one of you, maybe it was you, Matt, said Matt's more powerful. I wonder if Matt's more powerful than he thinks he is. Is that something? There was some comment like that.
One of us said that.
One of you said that, like, and you're like, what are they doing here? So I think that is a fun one. Is there we talked about Perrin a bit. We talked about Mat. Other kind of standout characters and or actors for you both that have interesting kind of stories where they're going and that are kind of piquing your interest. Like for you, is there one where you're like, okay, maybe it's not the arc, maybe it's not a favorite episode, but this character, so far we've heard from Mat and Perrin, who else is on that list for you both? And Shannon, I don't know if I'll come back to you, put you on the spot. Is there someone else where you're like, this character, I'm really digging this character? Either it's because of the acting chops or it's just they're interesting for you.
Yeah, especially this last episode, Egwen. I mean, she is killing it this season. Like, she's just all over the place in the best possible way. And I really feel like, you know, her time with the Seanchan is really going to level her up. You know, she's already being able to, you know, kind of feel the deeper emotions and kind of get to the level of what I hope is, you know, false obedience.
I hope so.
We had discussed that about you know, just her pretending and not being fully broken down and having like at least a sliver of hope still. But you know, all of her stuff has been just really interesting. I feel like she's really standing out for me this season.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Yeah, I can add to that too.
Go for it.
I think everyone is just everyone is standing out. I mean, this land situation I find very intriguing. You know, Moraine, but specifically to Egwen. I mean, her performance last episode, the belting and the scream, it nearly made me cry. Honestly, it nearly made me cry because I felt her pain in a, like, you know, sympathetic way. Like I didn't want to see her end up in that. And all she ever wanted, and we discussed too, like all she ever wanted was to be appreciated for her talents that people keep pointing out that she has. But she never gets a chance to embrace it. Or
it's the comparison to Nynaeve. That's like holding her back this whole time. Now she's being, you know, appreciated for what she does have, and you know, almost praised. So
in a very like sick, in a very sick and twisted way. Yeah. Like there's like some
for it.
It's what was your reaction to that? So as like that's certainly, I'm not spoiling books for you. There are Seanchan in the books. I mean, that's not like a made up thing, right? So this is not a huge surprise for book fans to go like, oh, this thing exists. What, just watching this, like, what was your reaction to, like, you'd been introduced to the One Power before, and okay, they go to a White Tower and they learn how to channel, and like one of the things that hit me was, remember when Alanna was training them in the kitchen or something, and they had cups and they were all standing around like, I can't remember if it was your reactions or someone else's reactions.
Arena
like,
filters.
Yeah, like there's like, really, do they just stop in the kitchens and start training them? Is that what's going on? And I can't remember who like talked about that, but anyways, it was a reaction I was watching. I was laughing, but it was like, it made sense to me. I was like, oh, teaching a lesson. To have that kind of water related, like this is how you learn how to channel. This is how you learn to do this thing, to embrace this power that you have. Here, let me give you an example using water and filtering it for your benefit. And then to have the writers like use that water idea, but then it was a sul'dam training a Damane how to obey them. And it had to do with, it wasn't a one-to-one connection, but the fact that they both used a glass of water to me was like, man, that just
nice parallel.
that just hit, like that hit for me. I was like, damn, like, but obviously in a different way. Like you can't even drink from here until you can obey, right? Versus using this power for, you know, to filter this out so the water's good for you. So yeah, what's been your reaction to this new development for you of the sul'dam and Damane and how they're how Egwene's being treated?
Yeah, I feel like we're still trying to figure out exactly how their dynamic is working, because we had a big long discussion about that.
Yeah.
Like just bouncing back and forth about, you know, what we think could be the case with them. And just like you said, the comparison between the two is like, you know, one is, you know, I'm going to teach you how to filter this so you can have a nice fresh, you know, glass of water. And it's like, you are not going to drink until you obey me like a dog.
Yeah.
And it's very harsh. Obviously it's a completely different way of doing it. You know, at least, you know, in the White Tower they have a bed to sleep on, they have, you know, light, they have, you know, they get food, they get water. You might have to work a little bit, but you're still going to get it at the end of the day. Meanwhile, you know, you can't drink.
There's like a level of respect there.
Exactly. Yeah. You're in a dark room. You have no friends. You know, you're alone, and they're going to break you down. So it's just a big difference in how they're treated. But I feel like for Egwene's situation, her being broken down is what's going to rise her up. Because, you know, she's, you know, like we said in the White Tower, she was, you know, compared to Nynaeve a lot.
Yep.
And this, she's on her own completely. And I feel like she's always the one that's had hope. So I feel like that tiny little sliver is going to come out, and she's going to take everything she's learning and just triple it. And, you know, really come out on top.
Yeah, Loyal said it too. He also hinted that if anyone can make it through this, it's Egwen. But yeah, I mean, to answer your question about what do you think of that, like, and to add on to what Shannon was saying, was that like when the minute that we saw the Seanchan, like, and like fully coming in and like command respect and everything, I was like, we don't know anything. And there's been many shows. It's like you think by the end of season 1, then like, okay, everyone, okay, yeah, like Siuan and Moraine, they're running the show. They know all the secrets. They know everything. And then we get to a point where even Moraine doesn't know what's going on. Siuan, we didn't see her until last episode, and she seems to be out of the loop about what's going on. You got a Black Aja underneath your nose you don't even know about. It was all legend, it's folktale. It's not something that people see regularly, much less even talk about. Yep. So it's like, you know, it showed us that we don't know anything about this world, and this is literally what we saw was just a sliver of what's really out there. And even Surath was even saying too that, like, you know, or even Rena, which I got a correction on. Her name is Rena, not Rana. I thought it was Rana, but Rena even said, like, this is how we are supposed to wield power. It's just how we're supposed to do things. And you see a big difference in just potency
and how they do it.
It's like, I don't know. We've been seeing that a lot in shows, in different shows across the board recently too. With even like Star Wars, for example, they introduced a new concept in the canon of Boken Jedi. There's a whole thing, people who do things in an unorthodox way or different than it's taught traditionally. And we've seen it in a lot of things. So I'm glad that we're actually getting to see something like that for the Wheel of Time, where it's like, no, these people seem to know, like, all, you know, like one power and the usage of it was all very political in the sense of the Aes Sedai and how they use it. Whereas, you know, you have these new people coming over here, and it's, where's the politics? They have their own politics, but like, where's the politics concerning how they use the one power? It's completely different. So it's a well of questions to start to pop up from that.
Yeah, so you've had two really important Wheel of Time related experiences here. One, mispronouncing things. Welcome to the club of mispronunciation. I don't know if people have made that clear in your comments. That's a totally normal. That's a normal thing, and we all do it. For example, the city. This happened to me 4 years ago when I started live streaming. I'd always read the books. I hadn't listened to them. And I know you can look in glossaries. People would always tell me blah, blah, blah. I always just said it. I always pronounced the city Carheen. I think Carheen
I'm still
was
trying
how
to figure that one out.
and I didn't realize it was Kyrian. And I was like, but I probably did realize that it was Kyrian at some point. But then I was like, Carheen, and I like reverted back and forth. So it's like a really totally normal like experience. So I'm glad you had that. Rena, whatever. You know, it's like Damane, whatever, however you pronounce it.
Oh, that was another one they really went into explaining in the comments. Like, no, there's a difference. There's two things.
No, totally. No, I just wanted to say welcome. Like, I hope everyone's made you feel like that's totally legit and normal and part of the experience. The other part that you just talked about was this idea that there's this kind of, as you've experienced, like, oh, I thought this was the truth, all the truth, you know? And it was like, oh, wait a second. Wait, what else is going to come up, right? Like, what don't I understand about this world that I thought they had done a really good job explaining? And then there's this thing that changes it about it. Really great translation of just how the Wheel of Time should feel. And that's like, and that was always intentional. So I love that you're experiencing that aspect of that moment. And the same thing, you know, because it's an adaptation, that's the same thing that I get to experience too, which I love too. It is like you said, they're taking 14 main series, and there's like you could say if you want to include, there's another book out there if you want to include it, call them 15, that's fine. But consolidating them all down into 8 episodes in a season, or, you know, in multiple seasons as far as they go, there's going to be things that just naturally change. And so that's been honestly an experience for someone like me and for many people in chat that are just like, oh wow, like I don't know exactly like this particular how they're going to do things. So it's also is our experience, and it's actually been for me a quite fun one to ask. I'm going to end this poll that we had out here for us for our visitors. 250 of you vote on this poll. Which of the theories about Mat killing Rand do you like most? And as a lot of things when it comes to these kind of theories, they're pretty well split. But the one that won out with 37% of the vote, not like a crazy majority, was stab but not kill planned. That's the one that they liked most of the ones that you proposed. But honestly, stab but not kill not planned was 26%, figurative 19%, different turning 16%. So yeah, a lot of fun, you know, interesting ideas of how that might come about. Egwene, where do you think this is? So you both have said, you know, like, oh, this is interesting. They've now kind of isolated her off. She's not a White Tower anymore, but she's here. And also you saw the sul'dam, you know, Rena, like bring her over to that was like a terrifying scene, you know, with the tree. Like I go back and watch that, and it's just so heartbreaking. And to hear Rena's voice, where Rena's like, I think Matt, you like said like, we have an affinity or something like that. And it's just like this, you just don't feel right when you're watching it, you know, and watching her kind of do that to the tree. Where are we going, Shannon? Like, are you thinking ahead for Egwene, or are you still just kind of like in that place? And by the way, I don't want anyone in chat to be like talking episode 7, 8 theories, full book spoilers. You want to talk about the books in chat, that's fine. But I am just kind of curious if you have like, for you two, Shannon, is there like, this is what I'm hoping, or this is where I think they're going with this when it comes to Egwene before we move away from her?
Yeah, I'm definitely thinking ahead when it comes to her, because like I said, I feel like she's been the person that's always had hope that something would work out. But I'm also concerned because it's the first time she's really been on her own in these situations. She's always had someone there, you know, whether it was Perrin or Nynaeve, she's always had someone to lean on. So I feel like she is getting broken down, and she is going to feel like a certain obedience at some point. But I feel like there will be a breaking point for her that she is going to be like, no, this isn't me. This isn't what we're going to do. Like, I'm going to, take everything that I'm learning and I'm going to use it for me. I'm not going to use it for them. I am going to get better and prove myself, not for them, but for me. And we're going to come out on top.
Okay. You see a coming out on top arc for Egwene. Okay.
Definitely.
Matt, are you also there? Do you think there's any world where actually, no, she doesn't come out on top?
I mean, like I've mentioned in the stream so far, that is a possibility where she doesn't win. And it, maybe she does come out, but not on top. She comes out changed. She comes out differently. She comes out not the same. I mean, either way, she's leaving the situation differently.
Sure.
No
Yeah.
But,
right.
Because I mean, to go through what she's been through in that episode that alone is enough to change you for the rest of your life. Even if it only happened to her over the span of 24 hours, that's forever. That's going to be forever. That's never going to go away. But no, I think, and I just want to shout out Kate too. Everybody loves Kate. In the comments, she posted in our comments, because I didn't think about it in the moment until after, about the tree, about what it meant to Egwene and literally forcing her to destroy something that was like her only joy in that moment. And when I went back and looked at the scene, I was like, dang. That was literally my response. I was like, dang. I was like, no, that sucks. Like, because I didn't put two and two together at the time. And I was like, that's evil.
Yeah.
It really sucks. And it changed the way that I viewed that entire thing. But just to get back to it, I think I agree with Shan about her coming out on top. That's what I wanted. That's what I predicted for Egwene. I want her to. I said at the beginning of the episode when she kept trying to fight back, I was like, no, Egwene, you gotta is ever saying in like my culture, like just take your licks. Like just take your licks and just let them feel like they have you in some way. Like it's gonna suck and no one's gonna enjoy this. They might, but you're not. But take what you can from it as best as you could, and then use it to your advantage to come out on top. And I mean, they kept saying so much about Egwene being, really strong, or even sul'dam said they said that she's like the strongest Damane they've ever seen, and or we're in a long time. I think that's what they said. So I mean, that's gonna mean something at some point. And I feel like she might have the ability to break those chains metaphorically and physically, and play a major role in her liberation, and maybe the liberation of other sul'dam. I mean, sorry, other Damane.
Yeah. Okay. I like what you're thinking. Will be interesting to see kind of how that comes out for Egwene. I know we brought up Perrin, Matt, and Egwene at this point. Matt, is there one for you? Can we come back to you? Character that's kind of standing out to you? Any character so far that's standing out that you think they're just interested in, or curious about what's going on, or you just think that they've had an overall like an amazing performance?
I mean, the most memed thing in our reaction now is the fact that we spent like over an hour analyzing a ring from the from the teaser. So, bringing it into Photoshop and trying to figure out. So to answer that question, everyone, I cannot put my finger onto one specific character. And as Shannon said as well earlier, that like really depends on where we're at and who they're showcasing. But every single person, I'm interested in seeing what happens to them. I mean, Liandrin annoys me a lot, but I feel like, she's justified in certain things, or there's a deeper reason for why, this was her, her, as we start to get little breadcrumbs of her background situation. I'm like, man, Liandrin, I feel for you. I'm really sorry that life brought you to this point, that you had to make certain choices that affected not only yourself, but other people and the people around you. And so even Liandrin, I'm interested. Perrin is a standout character that when she stepped in the scene, immediately grabbed my attention. How witty she is. She knows how to use her words. She knows how to get information without you doing much. So everyone, literally just everyone has something in this show that I want to see explored. And if they don't do it in the show, then I'm going to go read the books. So,
So
whenever they finish the show.
Okay, while I'm looking for the scene, because there's a Liandrin scene. If somebody wants to tell me where the timestamp is, because it's pretty brutal. It's from episode 6. I think you probably know what Liandrin scene I'm talking about here. Someone give me a timestamp on this. Oh, there it is. I found it here. Because yeah, I mean, Liandrin is just, I think Kate Fleetwood is just doing an amazing job here. 1 second. This is from episode 6, everyone.
Lady Lanfear, Sharma said he'd freed you, but
Tell me, why do you work for him? For Sharma? You hate men. With one exception, it seems. Oh. What's his name?
Liandrin.
Men hurt us, betray us, and still we love them. You swore your oaths to keep him alive, but this is not life.
I know.
I mean, man, that whole sequence, and then you have Lanfear kill him. What were your thoughts going on in this moment with Liandrin and Lanfear, and then this question of her oath being sworn to maintain his life? What came out of that for you both, from a thought process? Yeah, Matt, go for it.
I mean, there's a lot to unpack with Lanfear. I mean, oh my God. I mean, it was just like that whole scene. It was just like, this woman is just something. It's like, I don't know. She puts the fear of the light in you. She makes you scared. She just, everything she does is just terrifying. And just to see her so easily and casually just, I mean, the guy was on his way out anyway. I mean, all you got to do is just try to go to the bathroom. And he probably would have fell down. That would have been it for him. But, the fact that she did it so easily without even putting in so much effort, just took his entire life away. Like, just like that. It sets up a scale for, how serious this person is, or, what she's capable of. And it's very terrifying how quickly she was able to do something like that. And to even see Liandrin come to a point where she's just like, I can't even do nothing. Because I remember the first part of that scene was when she tried to even attack her and she said the first one's free. Honestly, at that point, I'm just going to retire from everything. Like, we're just going to cash in everything right now. We're retired. Right. Like, it was the fact that, like, Liandrin is already a formidable fighter. She's already considered one of the most dangerous Aja that we've seen, at least so far. We've seen she's very dangerous. She's very strong. She has a lot of determination. People, I guess, all of her other sisters watch her in a certain way because they know what she's capable of. Even Suan keeps her eye on her. We've been seeing that. So the fact that the great Liandrin could just do something like that to Lanfear and she's just like the first one's free, man, I don't know. You got to just rethink your entire life at that point. Yeah. And it was very terrifying.
She immediately goes, Lady Lanfear, oh crap. How am I going to get out of this? And then her getting out of it, like think about that moment, connect those two pieces, what you just connected, which was she threw a fireball at her. Lanfear told her the first one's free and then killed her son. Right, like what was right, like, what was free about that one? There wasn't anything free. It was like, actually,
that was torment.
Yeah, it was like really like you were like, well, the first one's free. No, it wasn't.
It really wasn't free.
It was not free, and so that, yeah, like you said, kind of the heightened aspect of Lanfear showing up isn't necessarily a great moment here for Liandrin, but it does make me want to ask the question to you. She did kind of say something like here, like, why are you following Ishamael? Like Shannon, for you, like, what's going to happen here with Liandrin? Is Liandrin going to take this and be like, now can you switch allegiances? Like, can you like pick one of these two? Like, will she have to work for both of them? Is this, like you said, well, now the reason why she swore her oaths was because to keep him alive. Well, Lanfear just took that away, right?
Yeah.
So try to get inside of the mind of Liandrin in this moment. Like, what do you think Liandrin does next?
Yeah, if I was Liandrin, I'd be like, do I really want to be following this person? If they're just going to take away why I swore to him and my motivation for, being a dark friend, being involved in that world, and you're just taking the one thing away that I cared about. So I do feel like she's going to break, and, whether it's, back deciding with the Aes Sedai or just being, on her own. Like, I feel like for me, I would be on my own. I wouldn't have allegiances to either or, because she has issues with both. So there's a really interesting side of Liandrin that we're still trying to figure out and see where her loyalty will lie, and see if she has any loyalties anymore. I think that's the really big thing here.
So this is where we're gonna let's get our chat. They're watching this closely, and I wanted to ask them this question: like, allegiances, Liandrin's allegiances, where are they going to lie after that? Right. So, and Liandrin's, I'll just call it allegiance. Where is it? I'll just call it, where is it now? So here are the theories right now. Shannon, you just brought up one, I think, which was break ties. Like basically not choose, how do you say this? Like, choose herself. Is that what you meant? Like, don't choose them?
Yeah.
Okay. Chooses herself. The obvious choice here would also be, what Lanfear is pushing for is choose Lanfear, right? Like, Lanfear is obviously coming in here saying, like, why do you have to be with a Shamael? Choose Lanfear. Is that would you say that's a choice that she might be making at this point? Is that reasonable to say there might be this choice? Or do you think there's no chance that she chooses Lanfear after this moment? Both of you.
I definitely think it could go any way, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, it could drive her more to, go that way. It's like, oh, I have nothing left to lose now. So, I'm just going to go with my gut here. So that's definitely an option for sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
we'll see.
I'm kind of standing onto the side of maybe. It's definitely an option. Like we're saying, like she's saying here, like it's definitely an option. I see Liandrin kind of going off into more of like a rogue element. That like, you know what, man, like, forget all of you guys. You guys suck. Aes Sedai, a Shamel, like Lanfear, you guys suck, man. I'm just gonna do my own thing. Like, just go off and just kind of be a gray Aja. Not even a black Aja. She's gonna be in between and just do her own thing.
Gotcha.
I know the grays are actually an Aja though. I think
that's what
I think someone actually said that they're actually a thing in the book.
Okay. So we have choose herself, because there's maybe a little bit of a tweak there, which is rogue. Do you mean rogue as in playing both? You know what I mean? Is that what you mean by rogue? Somewhere between, or an opportunist? Okay. Yeah. And is there a different choose herself that isn't opportunist, or do you just think choosing herself is the opportunist selection?
Or is there
I feel like it can go either way. Like, choosing herself is just, not caring, just giving everything up. And then there's the opportunist standpoint where it's like, all right, well, whatever works better in my favor.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
We're playing whatever cards you gotta play.
Okay. Yeah. So we'll say choose herself, opportunist. And then we'll just call it choose herself. Like, we'll just say, like, what's the word? Like, nihilist? Is that? I don't know if that's the right word. I'm trying to think of, like, what the other version, like, is it like choose herself, like, just like not basically like, when you say that, Shannon, do you mean like give up her ties to the Black Aja? Is that what you mean by that? Like,
just kind of doing her own thing, living just a simple life.
Okay. Like choose herself, kind of like, but the I'm gonna say this isn't exactly what you mean, but this is like just because I have limited characters, like hermit, like it's just kind of like and then I'm gonna say choose herself, opportunist, and then I'm gonna say choose Lanfear, and then stay with Ishamael. Is that decent? Are those like decent 4 options? Okay, so hopefully everyone understood those options. And then if I spelled something wrong, you'll have to just deal with it. Okay, we're gonna send that one out to everyone else. It'll be interesting to see what they have to pick from or choose from here. What they'll tell us. Lanfear does play a role not only in Liandrin's storyline here, but we get this moment. Where is it? See if I can find this with Rand that I thought was pretty cool. Here it is. Yeah. This really hit me at the beginning of, I think it was episode 2. Sorry, here we go. Yeah, there we go. Yes, Lan. There we go.
This is where you're heading. You know that, right? Men who can chant, they lose their minds. And eventually kill everyone they love.
Is she, dear? If he doesn't want you to be here, then you shouldn't be. I told you I was protecting you from him. You have to be careful in the dream world, Rand. You can die here. Oh. And you can travel too. See the world as it really is. See anyone you want. Talk to them even. As if we're both awake. I thought about what you said. About the lies I told you, and you're right. I haven't given you any reason to trust me. So let me start now. Let me give you the gift of a dream. Is there anyone you'd like to see?
Anyone?
That look,
Anyone?
Oh man. Okay. That was a brutal scene then. With again, like the scenes we've watched, and maybe this is just a really common theme for me. I've really liked season 2. Just quality of the production. I think you brought this up, Shannon, earlier. Just like the production is really good, and I think it's like amped up this season. Like I go back and watch these scenes; they're just fun to go back and watch. Like that scene. Really digging the kind of Lanfear villain side now after we had that Selene side here. And this moment with Rand occasioned a number of questions. So first of all, how you both liking this dream world thing? Is it resonating with you, Shannon? Do you like this as a feature of the show?
I definitely think it's a really interesting aspect to it because there's so many questions that rise from it. Was Ishamael even there, or was Lanfear manipulating him into being like, hey, I have your back, and I told you I have your back, so I'm gonna prove it to you. Like there's so many things that could happen. I mean, I'm a big horror fan, so like I've watched Nightmare on Elm Street, and like anything can happen in the dream world and it can affect your real life. So it's really interesting to like question like what's real, what's not real, and what are we taking out of all of this. So it's just been really interesting.
Yeah, the what's real, what's not, right? Like that has been, it's a question Egwene must be asking herself. Does that make sense? That even like the name of that title, Eyes Without Pity, right? Like, can this even be real? That these people have this thing? Like, I'm living through this thing, but it feels so like this can't be true. Like that there are people like the Seanchan that exist, right? Just like a visceral human experience, kind of, is this real? Is it not? Then you have that whole kind of Black Aja aspect. Like people are kind of awakening to this idea of like, can this be real? Like this was always like, Matt, you mentioned, this is like a myth or a legend, or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
And then we get like actual features of the world itself, like the dream world, like what is real, right? It makes you go back and like rewatch scenes. You're like, was this even real? Right, kind of scene. So
yeah,
like that. And there it seemed like they're giving us clues and hints, and obviously along the way, my wife had the same experience. It was like I think it was episode 5 where they did that dream sequence where Ishamael's like putting his hand on Rand's, what you think is Rand's face, and it's really Lanfear. And like when they have Rand sitting there in that, in the bed, my wife is like, Rand's there, and she had this moment of like, what's happening, So yeah, I love that experience itself. What's your answer, Matt, to the question? Was Ishamael there? Was he not there? Was it an illusion? I see people like throwing up questions in chat. Do you have one where you're like, I'm pretty sure this feels like it probably is this?
Same questions that Shannon was saying, because we were talking about that literally today, like, right? Like we were talking about that exact scene and what it could mean for the entire show and what it could mean. And I this was something that I saw, which I thought was cool, which led with that someone mentioned in our comments, without spoiling too much, that the name Ishii was something that the book community like used to say a lot. And that was kind of like a nod to fans.
Yeah.
So I
Ishii
found
dear.
that out. I found that out, and I thought that was pretty cool. That it is something for you guys to enjoy. But it also made me question too that like, okay, why would she? I think she's strong enough to, because I think she told Ishamael that, when he asked her the question, like, are you going to betray me? And she's like, I will. Like, I don't think she was joking. I think she was like legitimately serious. Like, I think this isn't the first time she betrayed him. He knows this. She knows this. So it made me feel like, but I also feel like she has a respect for him in a way. So I don't think she would call him Ishii.
Gotcha.
I don't think she would say that. So that kind of leaves me to believe that she fabricated him being there, fabricated this whole play, so that Rand, to kind of, that Shan said, to manipulate Rand into believing her, or to trusting her more. But it is possible that he was actually there, because she's even mentioned that he's becoming more skilled in her area of expertise, which is the dream world. So it's still an unanswered question, but many possible outcomes.
By the way, I love that you are like piecing this together. You're like, okay, the fan community said Ishii was something that they did, and so they embedded this thing in. And would she really call him Ishii in this moment? I love that you've made that as part of the theory itself. Shannon, I'm going to ask you the same question, but let me answer this poll. Over 200 of you voted on this one. Liandrin's Allegiance, where is it now? You have a lot of people here that are kind of really for the idea of opportunist, or maybe even choosing Lanfear. Most people here like are kind of reading into this idea, like you said. Like, first of all, Liandrin seemed like she was already kind of there, but now how does this cause her to change? So that's gonna be a really interesting question moving forward. I love, as you can tell, I love this aspect of what we're doing. So, okay, and we're gonna. Maybe we could talk about this for hours, as you can tell, and as you both have done multiple times, and as you've cited that Dusty Wheel does all the time. So,
yes,
but I want to ask this question, and then ask one more about kind of villains, if you will, in the show, and then let people in chat ask me some questions to ask you. Really, kind of, hopefully, it's not some quick fire questions. So, guys, we're gonna probably try to end in the next 20 or so minutes here, y'all. But we'll try to make some time, like I said, for questions in chat. So, Shannon, for you, I'm gonna ask everyone. We're gonna throw this poll out to them, which is basically basically, was Ishamael there? And no, actually, no. Let's see. We're just gonna call this. What was happening between Lanfear and Ishamael in that dream? Because that'll open up some options there. So, one of the ones, Matt, you brought up was projection of some sort. Like it was like he wasn't there, right? Like projection by Lanfear. I think one of the obvious ones. He was there, right? Shannon, are you kind of on that side of it was a projection? Are you on the side that he was actually there? Or is there another option that comes to mind for you?
I mean, I definitely think that it was a projection because I really think that she was just trying to manipulate Rand into, believing that, she's on his side. You sound like you have a theory.
I have a third option for the question.
Oh,
if you need
okay,
a third
yeah.
option.
Okay.
A third option is that they both, which I think we did talk about this, but still manipulation. However, this time he actually was there, and it was something they pre-planned together.
Okay.
We did talk
for
about
a common cause.
Yeah.
Like, okay, we need Rand to be on our side. Ishii, can you come and just do a little cameo in my little show, and then you can go back and terrorize someone else. And while I handle Rand.
So those are going to be our 4 options, everyone, because there's really, I'm trying to think if there's another option. I don't think there is. Projection by Lanfear, not planned or planned. He was there, not planned or planned. Does that make sense? I think that is, those are our options. Okay, projection. We all there, everybody? I think hopefully sometimes I do these polls and I'm like, if you didn't listen up to this point and you missed it, because you have to have listened closely to really understand the nuance of this one. But I think this will be interesting to see what people kind of think. He was their plan. Okay, everybody, we'll send this poll out. Okay. So villains themselves, right? We're starting to get a feel for them. We had I want to say season 1, we really had who now we know we have that whole this whole idea of a villain being Ishamael, right? So then we have now a villain being Lanfear. How are you feeling that the show's doing with villains in general? Are you liking it? Are you hoping to see more? Are you hoping to see aspects of villains we haven't seen yet? Is it working for you? Maybe I can't remember who I put on the spot first last time, so you tell me. But Shannon, I
villains.
Go first. Yeah.
I think they're doing a good job building them up, to be honest, because Ishamael and Lanfear are 2 completely different villains.
Yeah.
And how they work together is still what I'm trying to see, because we've had aspects of them talking and kind of communicating, but we haven't seen them actually working together fully. But Lanfear is really interesting to me because of the fact that she's always been in love with the dragon, and she's gonna do anything she can to keep him for herself.
Mm-hmm.
So we've had many discussions about how that would work in Rand's case, because he did have a connection with her and he did have feelings for her. But, seeing Egwen, he's, those feelings are still there, and it's almost like a reignite, those feelings. So, and then, they went back and we saw how jealous she was of that.
Yeah.
And so it's really interesting to see the lengths that she could go to kind of keep him in a spot that's, profitable for her. So I think they're doing a really great job with it, and I'm just trying to see the other, I know we got some name drops.
Oh yeah, we got a lot of name drops about other members.
Yeah, I don't know if we'll see anything this season, but moving forward, I definitely think that they're going to have great introductions. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah, it's interesting. That introduction I thought was pretty. I think it was from the end of episode 4, where they they basically had the introduction of who we didn't know at the time was actually Lanfear. That I'm glad it's working for you, right? It's kind of one of those. It's one of those things. I think getting a villain right and doing it, making him interesting and compelling is is difficult. So I kind of wondered how they would make that or do in the TV show if it would. I didn't feel like the season 1. I was like, I'm just not feeling it here. Season 2 has really amped it up for me personally watching the show. I'm like, those are the scenes I kind of want more of, if that makes sense. Like those scenes I've started to really, really enjoy even more now. For you, Matt, villains, I mean, we've mentioned Ashamael and Lanfear. That's not technically, I mean, we could obviously broaden that out. Like, do you think that the villains, are they working for you as far as a television show?
Who are the villains? That's my question. You know, what is considered a villain? You know, everyone. I like shows that have a lot of. I talk about Mobile Suit Gundam a lot on the channel because it's a show I'm still watching and going through. But one of the things I loved about that show and what I'm starting to like and notice in the Wheel of Time is the moral ambiguity. There's a lot of, everyone has their own motives. Everyone has their own objectives. Now, there's obviously some clear-cut wrongs, like, you know, the Seanchan are enslaving people. That everyone can, I would hope that everyone would agree that that's wrong. Yeah. And that's not something that's acceptable. So there's like some clear-cut wrongs. But then there's also some things that the Aes Sedai do or have done that could be considered wrong as well. Or, you know, like how maybe their perspective, how they treat certain men that might be innocent and, you know, not giving them a chance to really, you know, show that they're not a danger to anyone. Sure. Or, you know, it's always usually hostility in some cases for men who can channel. And, you know, there's that situation too. Or, you know, so everyone has their own things and can come across as a villain in their own way. Because like Liandrin, I saw her as a villain, but now I don't really think I see her as a villain. I see her as a pawn that got caught up in this unfortunate situation. You know, with her intentions not being to destroy the world or something. I don't know. Yeah. But I do think, to answer your question, to get more on track of that, because I sense myself going somewhere else, but to get back on track with that, I feel that they are handling it really well this season. And for season 2 for me, but didn't have too many issues with it. I felt the setup of the Dark One was this big, you know, his name, it was kind of like Voldemort in Harry Potter.
Sure.
You can't say his name, you know, or even in Lord of the Rings, you know, you can't say, you know, here's this guy here and this tower, and everyone is afraid of him. And, you know, so it was this big, and we still haven't even seen the Dark One, I guess, from what we found out. So it's still a fear factor. But the Dark Friends, I thought they were very intimidating, especially the one that tried to kill Matt and Rand, or at least, you know, was attacked them in that one.
Oh yeah, in Dana. Yeah, you know, she had her own moments where she was terrifying when she found out. So I think season 1 handled the villains a lot, you know, really, really well, but season 2 stepped it up a lot
for sure.
Yeah, I think I had forgot about Dana. You're right. And they certainly, even White Cloaks in episode episode 2. Episode 2 opens up, man, and like Valda, right? And he's like, cut the hands off of the, like, oh man, like, that's it's a really, like you were talking about. I'm seeing comments go by in chat. Like, again, a really good commonality of kind of experience that we hope as just general fans of this whole world, which is, it's not so cut and dry, right? It's not just like this is the most. There are, like you said, some times that are clear, and some peoples that are clear, some individuals, but other times you're like, wait, what is the morality around, like you said, like gentling male channelers? You know, like how do I feel about that? Like as a viewer, I'm like, all of a sudden that kind of like gets in your mind. You're like, I don't know. Wait a second. You know, that's a question I want to talk about or I want to think about. So I'm glad you're having that experience. By the way, this one had just about 200 votes. What was happening between Lanfear and Ashamael on that dream? So this one, they do. So people are kind of feeling this whole idea. Like, I think the most votes got that. I think you both, I can't remember if you were both on par with this one, but it was a projection by Lanfear that was planned. Like, people are thinking like, you know, maybe that's but the votes were kind of split across the other answers too, but that one had the most votes. So yet to be seen. We'll find out, hopefully, or maybe,
we'll see.
Or maybe we won't. Maybe we won't know the answer to that one. Yeah, we might not know that question. So I do want to go to our I'm going to ask, as people ask some questions, hit me up a Dusty Wheel in chat. I'm going to ask you some questions fans have. I'm going to ask you just kind of some fun questions while I wait for those. What advice do you have for particular characters? Or something you just yell at the screen because you're like, don't do this? Or is there something like, oh, I just wish I could tell him this? Or, man, is there anything that comes to mind where you're like, I would tell them X?
Yeah. I know last episode we were like yelling at the screen at Egwen, just like power through, like you got this.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, I know it's hard, but you got it. But yeah, I think that was like the main one that we were really saying, at least last episode. Yeah. And there's just been a lot throughout all the episodes that have no, go ahead.
Huh?
Feel free to butt in.
No. You pitch your thought. I'll pitch in a little later.
No, there's just been so many things that we've just been thinking and like trying to, decipher throughout all these episodes that, there's no clear-cut advice that we could necessarily say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've been yelling at Rand every single episode. Because I'm like, dude, like, come on. Because Rand is like me when I was his age. Like I would fall for those tricks, and I'm just like, don't do it, young brother. Please don't do it. Like, just be strong, my friend.
Like, so before we found out about Lanfear.
Yeah, more so before we found out about Lanfear. Like when it was Celine, I was like, I can see right through her. Like, just don't do it.
We've been saying that since the
teaser. Oh my god, since the teaser. As soon as I saw her hand on her chest, I was like, really? I'm like, no, you got it, Rand. I'm gonna be watching you this season because you're about to be doing some stupid
There's
stuff.
A big stereotype about female villains. She just fits the entire mold.
It was that, and I yell at Perrin sometimes too. My general thing for these characters, I told you earlier, is just take your licks. But I can't be too mad at Perrin for not listening to Elias, because we would never got introduction to my new favorite character in Avianda. So he would have never met her if he didn't rebelled against Elias. I was like, no, I'm going to find my friends, and then just leave. So I can't be too mad at him. But yeah, I think like Chan pretty much summed it up. I mean, there's a lot. You put yourself in a situation, but like you look on the outside, like with Egwen. It's like I can tell her yes to take your licks, but at the same time, if I was in her situation, I'd be doing pretty much maybe everything that she was doing.
Sure.
There's only so much advice you can give, like from the outside looking in. Yeah. But it's very different when you're in the moment, and if you're getting like beat up and broken down, you're desperate. Yeah, I mean, you're gonna do whatever you can to not be in that situation. Yep. So yeah.
I like it. And like you said, I think we talked about this earlier. And then as I aged, as I read, I had different advice for people as I'd read the books. I'd be like, actually, that person I told you not to listen to, you should totally listen to them. but don't listen to them when I felt differently about certain things. Okay, we have some questions coming in. What do you both think about? Have you listened to the soundtrack so far? I mean, then just like what you're hearing in the show itself. Have you both enjoyed it, not enjoyed it? Where are you at? Kind of give me your... I'm seeing... Yeah? Matt, you go first in this one. You liking the soundtrack or not liking the soundtrack?
So, I mean, more so than Shan, like we touched briefly on my musical upbringing. And
yeah.
And, I am a composer, so I do this kind of thing. Yeah. And I always listen to music, and it's a big part of an integral part of storytelling and film production. And I'm loving the music in season 2. Now, I am a little disappointed with certain things. Season 1, the music was a major highlight for me. Yeah. It was from a narrative point of view. It was deliberate. It was in your face. It told something. It said something, especially with Nynaeve, her motif, her theme song that plays whenever she's going crazy. Like that sticks with me because it made me cry when I first watched it, because the music really amped up the scene. My biggest complaint for season 2 was the lack of the intro music playing every single episode. I'm so upset about that, because it always hyped me up and got me excited. Whenever when we did reactions to House of the Dragon, it was the same thing, you know, like the iconic Game of Thrones theme song would play, and we're just like, yeah, we're here, we're ready to watch the show. And like
that Last of Us,
when Last of Us, the music hit, it sets up the tone. Or even me, I said this before, I'm a big Downton Abbey fan. I watch Downton Abbey on my own. She doesn't watch it. She's not into it, but I watched Downton Abbey by choice. And we had a trip, we were driving down somewhere, and I had to explain to her in that moment all the different versions of the opening theme song for Downton Abbey. I had her listen to like all 7 minutes.
Nice.
And like, so, because it sets up the tone for everything. So that's just been my complaint and my thoughts on the music.
Yeah, I'm on the same board with you. Like, I feel like it does set up, you know, the entire episode. It kind of, you know, gives you a minute to be like, all right, what's going to happen in this episode? You know, you get a little sneak peek of, you know, the beginning, and then it goes into it. And you're like, yeah, we're here. We're ready. But, you know, we're not getting that this season. It's unfortunate, but, you know, overall, I think overall the music has been good. And like Matthew, like he said, he has more of a music background than I do. So he listens more to that stuff. Like if I'm not in the car with him, he listens to soundtracks on his own. Like that's his thing. So he has more to speak about than me. But I'm like, oh yeah, that's cool. It sounds great. Sets up everything cool.
Sure. Shannon, do you recall there being a like themed? Do you recall any specific moments where you're like, oh, I really liked the music in this particular moment in the show, or is it not stick? Is that connection between the music and moments in the show not as sticky for you in your mind?
Yeah, usually no, because like, you know, my brain doesn't process music sometimes when stuff's happening. But I think as a whole, like Matthew said, the scene where Nynaeve did that for the first time, it always is going to make an impact, because that's a huge thing. You know, it just kind of sticks with you. Just that whole like thing down to, you know, the lighting, the emotion, the music, just everything as a whole kind of just sticks with you.
Yeah, the one that sticks with me is the Trollocs, when the Trollocs are attacking. Like I can hear that, like and sometimes when I'm in a car and just in a particular mood, I'll just throw that one on, because I'm like, that one. I've
been following Lauren Balfe for so many years. It was a show that was on History Channel way back then called The Bible, and he did a soundtrack for that, and I listened to it and I was like, man, this guy is something. And then he started working with Hans Zimmer, my favorite composer, and I was like, okay, I like this guy. And then when I heard he was doing the soundtrack and doing the score for Wheel of Time, I was like, that was actually one of the selling points for me.
Yeah.
Usually whoever is composing a movie can either make or break my excitement for it or a show. If I find a certain composer or a certain cinematographer is doing work like Greg Fraser, one of my favorite cinematographers in TV and shows, if I hear their name, I'm like, okay, I'm going to watch this. So yeah, Lauren Balfe does an amazing job with the score.
Okay, so we'll try to spitfire some of these answers. We won't be able to dig into too much of them. But Shannon, are there any dark friends where you're like that you feel like haven't been revealed yet, but will be? Like, now are you suspicious because obviously now we're getting Black Aja, and we have, you know, do you wonder now?
Oh, definitely. I definitely wonder. You know, there's so many people that could be, but we haven't even seen yet. There could be someone in the towns that they're going through that just could be looking at them a little weird. It's like, I'm watching you. It's like there could be so many people could be.
Is there anyone that stands out where you're like, I wonder if? Is there like a name where you go,
No one specifically yet.
Okay.
Yeah. No one specifically, but I'm always watching people in the background. So.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Matt, is Rand better off with or without Moraine?
I don't really have a clear answer for that. I think I think Rand can benefit from her knowledge, regardless of whether she can channel or not right now. Her knowledge is invaluable, I feel. So he needs to know as much as he can. Rand needs knowledge is literally can be more powerful in certain situations. So I think being with her is a plus, as long as Moraine is not just being stubborn and just allows like she's teaching him things. I think ideally as much information he can get from her, the better.
Okay. Shannon, if you had to answer that same question, like better off with or without Moraine?
Yeah, I think there's different answers for that, because on one hand, yes, he could benefit from her. Like Matthew said, like, knowledge is power. The more knowledge he has, the more he can kind of go off on his own and figure things out. But there's also ways that she can be holding him back and trying to teach him the Aes Sedai way, and that's not always the right way to do things, especially in a sense that this is a man who can channel.
Yeah.
And that's why I really like in the show that, he went to Logain and, was learning a little bit from him, because, that's a completely different experience.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like in certain aspects, yes, in certain aspects, no.
Okay. Yeah. No, it is definitely a nuanced thing. So I think that's a great answer. Okay. Now you've come to know this idea of, I think they saw in episode 3, they talked about tel'aran'rhiod. Do both of you understand what that name means? Does that sound familiar to you? The word tel'aran'rhiod. If it doesn't, we don't have to focus on it. But it had to do with they called the like portal arch things that Nynaeve walked through in episode 3. They called those tel'aran'rhiod. Did you understand what that was and what they meant by when they explained that?
Oh, we're talking about the gates,
the gateway things. Yeah.
Okay.
Did you understand what that like was, and when they like channeled the one power into it? Did you understand like what that even was?
I got theories and questions. I mean, more so.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I don't want to dig it. I don't want to like. We'll let the show answer. I had a question that I won't ask about that, because I'll let the show kind of do that work. If you could channel, and so I'll switch the channel. I'll switch the question. If you could channel, what is the weave you would want to learn, Matt? Like, okay, you have this power. What was the weave you'd want someone to teach you to do with it?
If I was in that world.
Yeah, if you were in that world and you could channel.
And I'm me.
Yeah.
So if I'm in that world and I'm me, I'm not somebody else.
Yeah.
I would really honestly keep that a secret. I was not telling nobody. I would honestly just try to survive. I would try to survive. I mean, I would try to find a group of people.
Gotcha. If someone like, well, if you were like Rand and you could meet someone like Logain or something like that, and like,
okay, that's a better
it's
question.
like,
Okay.
yeah. I gotcha.
Okay,
yeah.
so
if you did have an
me,
opportunity to talk to somebody, yeah, and totally, I get it. Like, you're in that world, don't say anything, because that's gonna cause problems. But if you had a moment to speak to somebody like Logain, is there something particular you'd want to learn how to do?
I think my first priority, being me, I would want to learn how to have basic control first before I try to figure out what path I want to go. I would want to, because obviously something I can't control. If I'm in Rand's situation, I can't control it. We've seen that Rand did fire at one point, and then there was wind at one point. I don't know if there were some other ones he did that might have went over my head. So Rand, obviously, he's just moving on impulse. So if I was in his situation like that, I would want to just, like the question he asked, how do I control it? So that would be my first question. How do I feel it? How do I channel it on command? And then I'll go from there. I'd go from there at that point.
Okay, and so
maybe
assuming
fire school.
Fire school.
To be more specific, I'd probably say fire would probably. Actually, you know what?
Just like making a fire. Just
Earth.
making a fire.
Earth.
Okay,
Earth.
like doing some kind of weave with earth. What would you want to do with it?
I mean, clean water is a good thing.
Okay, so like
Being able to
you saw
filter
them
it.
doing that. Like, yeah, just like I could filter water with that. Okay, I like that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of survival things you can do out in the wild if you can control elements of the earth in some way. I think.
Absolutely.
Earth and air.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
For you, Shannon, is there something where you're like, if I had these abilities, this is a weave that I wish the Aes Sedai, for example, would teach me, because I would really want to do X.
Yeah, I think for me, there's not one specific thing, because I'm the type of person that likes to know a little bit about everything.
Okay.
So I wouldn't want to do one specific thing. Like, if I had to pick, Matthew said fire. I've always been attracted to fire and like those kind of, like in Avatar, like Last Airbender, I'm always like, yeah, Fire Nation.
Yeah,
like
firebenders. Yeah.
So if I had to pick, I'd go fire stuff.
Okay. Yeah, you'd want to be good at that, so then you could do whatever it was, but something with that. Okay. So one of the last questions I have for you is back to those villains we talked about. Let's talk, because you said there was like some other names that came up, and you're like, oh, I wonder, what does that mean? Are we going to get some others in the show? If you had to pick between Ishamael and Lanfear for favorite villain so far in the TV show, Shannon, who would you pick so far? Like, this is the villain I'm really... it doesn't have to be you like what they're doing, but you like them as in how they're presented in the show.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna go with Lanfear. I
Okay.
feel like she's very charismatic. I feel like, she's really got a cool thing going for her. Like, she has this whole dream world, like I said.
Got a cool thing going for her.
a cool vibe.
Yeah.
Let me change that. Cool vibe. And she's a very interesting character because she just cares so much about the dragon and what that means for her, and she's very kind of soft when it comes to Rand in that sense. So she's got many different sides to her that I just find very interesting.
Yeah.
So yeah,
okay.
I'd say her.
Matt, how about you?
I mean, I like them both for different reasons. I really like her, like Shannon was saying, her charisma, her attitude. As like Lanfear is like, you love to hate her kind of thing. It's like, stop being so good at your job. Hate you. But I tend to like villains who are like tacticians and critical thinkers. So I'm kind of leaning more towards Ishamael, because he always seems to be 20 steps ahead. You never know what he's doing. You never know. He's probably even manipulating Lanfear too. And it's like, we don't know this guy's objectives. So I think he's written really well. And you just never know what he's going to do. You don't know what he's thinking about.
Yeah.
Like, what's his plan for Perrin? What's his, what's use he's going to have out of him? What's his play? That intrigues me a lot. I think but Lanfear as well. She's kind of cut and dry in certain aspects, but she's also not. So a little bit of both.
Cool. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how that continues to develop this season, and seeing where that goes for both of them. I think they've done a really great job. Like I think I said, every scene with either of them in it, and with both of them in it, those are always scenes I want to go back to and watch. Like, I remember when Ishamael was talking to Perrin in, like, when they're in like the wagon thing or whatever. I thought that was a really, really well done. Ishamael's scenes with Min, and then you flip this Lanfear scene with Liandrin, and all of Lanfear scenes with Rand, especially this recent episode. Yeah, really compelling TV, if you will, and then just characters. I think both those actors are doing a fantastic job. I mean,
yeah,
definitely.
I should say I think the actors on the show are doing a fantastic job. Like, I'm really invested in the world as a show. I don't know if this makes sense. I've been reading these books forever, but like, I realized this season it's kind of transcended into, I'm like, just like the show. I'm invested in the show, and obviously I know the world. But like the show, actually, I'm really digging the show itself as a separate entity, right, from the books, and so that's been really cool to see. So, well, I just want to thank you both for coming in, and I'm going to give you this option. I won't necessarily give you the answer because it might be a book spoiler, but do you have any questions for me about the Wheel of Time as it relates to the TV show? But what would you ask me if you had me on talking about the Wheel of Time?
Oh gosh, there's so many questions we've had.
Yeah, we've had a lot of questions.
Yeah,
you.
Why don't you go first? I need more time to think.
I mean, like, I'd be very careful how I'd ask the questions.
Okay.
Like, because I feel like every question, there's no way to really ask it without it getting, like, the questions I have. There's no way to really ask it without letting the show do it. Like, I have questions about, the heiress. We haven't even seen her yet. So, or even Tarak is his name, right? The Lord Tarak is his name. I think his name's Tarak, correct?
Yeah.
That's a question. His name's Tarak. But like, I have questions about him, his whole thing going on. Like, what's his place in all of this? I have so many Seanchan related questions.
Yeah.
And even the White Tower questions. I don't know. I feel like it might be kind of hard to answer those without really.
Basically, you're like, you're just gonna tell me watch and find out. Is that?
I mean, because I want to know. I do want to know the answer to those questions. Because I'd love to hear you talk about it, to be honest. But I don't know.
And it's less about that. No, but now you said it. Now because again, I know it's hard sometimes to pick your favorites or what's the most interesting thing. But yeah, like what I'm hearing is like the nation side of this and these organizations. And yes, the people are obviously interesting, but like, yeah, like how is this functioning? Like the White Tower itself, and like what are the unique and like how does Lord Turok fit into X, and how are the Seanchan? So yeah, no, I'm curious, like, you know, what would you, that's why I like putting, like, whether or not I would give you an answer. I'm just like, yeah. And so for you, it's really like, yeah, and maybe you, Shannon, if you had somebody that could answer some questions for you right now, what are those topics for you that you're like, oh man, if I could get answers today, this is what I would ask about.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest questions I have is, you know, who's the biggest person to worry about?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of people that, you know, there's a lot of moral ambiguity in the show, like we said. Who's the person that, you know, we need to worry the most about? You know, obviously, you know, the Dark One is becoming a big presence, and we haven't even seen him yet. But, you know, is he even the biggest worry?
Right. Are there more Wolf brothers? There's only two of them. When are Perrin and Avienda going to marry each other? Like, I have like
no, it's like
so many of those questions. There's so many little ones.
I love that question of like who should be worried about most. That's
there's the White Cloaks too. I mean, whatever. Like they're literally they're like there's hornets and then there's just bumblebees. Like the white cloaks are just like bumblebees to me. Like they might smack you in the face aggressively, but like just go somewhere. Like we have other things to worry about. Like they were a big threat for me in the first season, but like now it's just like, why? You're enemy of progress. Just leave and just go do something else.
Yeah,
go pray or something. I don't know. Leave us alone. Like we have bigger things to deal with here.
No, yeah, that's
I think that's a good question.
I get it, and those are gonna be fun. You know, I hope you will consider, like, as these seasons go on. Hopefully, right? We get more seasons of this, and consider coming back and chatting more with us. I'm sure everyone would like to know before I let you go. Do either of you ever have a plan to pick up one of these books in the future someday?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
we have
a whole plan.
Yeah, we've talked about it, like doing kind of book reviews and kind of, you know, we don't want too many future spoilers about, you know, what we want the show speak for itself. But we have talked about after, you know, the season ends to, like, you know, plan out, you know, reading like a couple chapters and just kind of going with it, posting it, and just having this discussion about it. So
we have a lot of Wheel of Time content post show planned to do, because we it's gonna be a, you know, and obviously the banner you have at the bottom with, you know, WGA and SAG. Unfortunately, there's that stuff going on right now, so we're really not going to see a third season for a while, depending on whenever they wrap things up.
Sure.
And you know, obviously getting everybody rescheduled. So we're planning to dive in at least the first book, dive into that and do some type of coverage concerning that. And you know, we had like a Which Aja Are You kind of video that we're planning to do. We have a lot of Wheel of Time content that we're planning to do.
I love it, and I can't wait. Like, I can't wait to watch and see when you start picking up the books and start doing that stuff. It'd be so much fun to see you actually go through those things. So looking forward to it.
It's gonna be so weird. It's gonna be like
but you still have to be careful, because Google's gonna ruin everything for you. So you got to be like twice as careful as you start reading the books. But
I guess this is a question we would have for you. Sorry.
Yeah, go for it.
We've seen different answers about this, but you're the authority
we'll
on
see.
This. Well, hey, a friend of mine who we trained in the same dojo together. He's a big fan of the channel, and he told me, you know, when he found out that we were going to be on, he was like, he's an authority on the Wheel of Time. So the question we have for you, I think we have, is, are we safe to read the first book and the second book? Is it safe for us to look into that?
I definitely think the first book, for sure. Yeah, I would say. I mean, I'll ask. Okay, I'm going to ask here. Is it safe to read the first book for our guests? I would say yes, but we'll say yes, and TGH after season 2, and then we'll give people an option no. Okay, so I would say I would not read book 3. I would not do book 3. I know I'll probably have people disagree in chat, but I definitely think the first one, and then I would obviously let this season end. They're not going to start before that to get to book 2. But as I think through book 2, I feel like book 2 is totally fine at that point. So yeah, I would say, again, I would probably hold off book 3. But again, I know people are going to disagree, but I would say definitely book 1 and 2. So. And I'm just an instant poll here, like 100 votes just happened really quick. And it does look like people are saying, 60% or so are saying yes, and the second book after season 2. So yeah, I think you're pretty solid there. The stuff you're going to want to avoid is like people talking, it's like going in and seeing what other people are saying. Cause a lot of people are going to go read book 1 and then if they're going to go on forums and talk about it, but they're going to bring up other stuff that, you know what I mean? Like you guys just reading it, but not going elsewhere and kind of finding out other commentary on book 1 and book 2 is safe. So yeah, I think you should be, 3, I'd hold off. I'd wait probably. A lot of this will largely depend on, and that's a better answer I could give after, if we get a season 3, but I would hold off on book 3. So yeah. That's my as authoritative answer you're gonna get from me.
That's the one we're gonna tattoo in our brains. Someone says read 3, you're like no, Dusty said no. That's it. We're not going past book 2.
Yeah, I think you're totally fine there. Only 3% of our voters, about 150 of them have voted here, have said no. So for even reading the first book, I think you're safe. It is going to change things for you, and so that's probably the aspect of the no that I will answer for you. I think I talked about it before the show start. I did a beta read for the last 2 books. So I saw the books before they came out, and that changed my relationship with the entire series, right? Like I had been a fan and I was like reading the books and as they would come out, but then like being behind the scenes a bit, reading the books does put you behind the scenes a little bit, right? Like it's you get behind the scenes a little bit. You're seeing how Robert Jordan wrote the characters. You're seeing how he put together the plot. What are the things he pointed out, or what are the characterizations he gave these characters? So understand it will change your experience. Absolutely, 100%. It's safe in the sense that the material you're going to be covering in those books, I don't think are going to ruin your ability to review like future episodes and know things necessarily that are going to affect like, oh, I know what's happening. Does that make sense? I know what's going to happen in the future and I'm responding to things I already know or I think might happen, but it will change your relationship with it, the material. And that's a choice you'll just have to make. And that one no one can make for you, which is, you are going to consume material written by the author in a way that he wrote it and how he plotted it and how he gave point of views and all those things. So that if you're not worried about how you consume media and how you can, review it and enjoy it as a separate of just a read of the material, I think, or if you're worried that it might affect your ability to kind of just review the media itself in the TV show, then that's a choice you have to kind of settle into and dig into more. I don't know if that nuance helps, but
I mean, I don't know about Shan, but I'm usually good with differentiating between adaptation of book adaptations and movies, and because I do it. I mean, it happens a lot with like anime and manga, and like Harry Potter or Lord of the Rings is completely different. Tolkien stuff is so much stuff missing from the movies. It's just different things. So I mean, I think I'll be all right.
Yeah, I'm usually good with separating the two and seeing it more as a bigger picture and like, spotting the differences. Like, they did this way. Oh, that's different from here, but that's really cool. Like,
that's cool. That. I don't like that. We might not. Yeah. We might get to the point we might not like certain things.
Yeah, definitely. But it's not going to change the experience.
And the only thing I would say for what you do, for example, it's so hard for me to do, like, for example, non-spoiler content or even first reader type content. Does that make sense? So I just can't get there. Like, people would be like, what did you think the first time you read about this? And I'm like, when I was 15, I have zero concept of what. I can't remember like that far back exactly what I was thinking. And so the only thing is, if you feel like you have viewers that are following along with you and they don't know anything about the books, that's the only thing where all of a sudden, if your conversations turn into, well, remember in The Great Hunt, they did it this way. You know what I mean? Or remember in The Eye of the World, that thing? Oh yeah. And he kind of did this. I think maybe this is a similar, that's, I think from having a channel and creating content, that's the only other thing I would suggest. Like, oh, how are you going to handle that? And if it doesn't bother you or whatever, you're moving forward, just do it however you'd like to do it. But that's the only thing I'd throw out at you is more information does change maybe kind of the viewership of your content, if that makes sense. So
yeah, absolutely, yeah.
And that's my deep answer to that question of like, but yeah, like I'm excited. Like if you make that choice and you go on that road and you start reading, and you start doing reviews.
It's tempting because I really, a part of me, when I have this I have like a little bit of like ADHD, so I get really fixated on certain things and a part of me is just like, because I'm really into this, part of me just wants to just right now after this stream go and listen to the audiobook and just listen to everything and just do deep dives and spend time in the Pedia pages, and because I did that with Star Wars, I did that with Dune, like, you know, Frank Herbert's books. I did that with a lot of stuff. I know Shan can be like that too. She's really into things, so it's hard for me to not do that right now.
I was the same way. Like when we first got the teaser, I'm like, no, I'm gonna go read the book right now. Like I have it downloaded on my Kindle.
Yeah, I have it downloaded.
Ready to go.
Yeah, I have it
and
downloaded on my
Kindle. Let me not do that just yet. So yeah,
it's really hard not to do that.
Yeah.
You're definitely preaching to this choir right here. I know, man. I totally feel that. And again, I don't think there's a wrong choice for you here, right? It's just knowing it will change an experience doesn't make it a bad thing. You know, it could be very well. It could absolutely complement the things you're doing and make it even a better experience for you and your viewers. So, you know, and I totally get the temptation. But yeah, don't go past book 2 if you do it. For now, it's my advice. So, hey, thank you both for being here. This was awesome to actually get to speak with you in person. You know, I've watched your reviews and such, but to hear kind of your feedback on characters, I did not. People in chat were like laughing about how I was going to go about talking about things I like in the book. I didn't want to make it about that. I inserted some fun things in there that were kind of things that I like, but that's not relevant. But it's just fun for me during it because I really liked hearing what was really hitting for you and what was interesting to you, and also just, you know, welcoming this community. I know you've already been welcomed, but just wanted to say welcome myself. And it's so awesome having more Wheel of Time fans. Like, to me, this is what it'll always be about. All the stuff is finding fans and then like broadening and opening those doors to even more to come in and find this world and be excited about it. I'm so glad that the show's done that for you. So
can I say one thing concerning that to the fans? I mean, we've said it in many videos, but we've covered a lot of shows, like over 2,000 videos on the channel, different shows, different movies and things like that. This is the first fandom that we have come across where a good majority, like we hear, like, you know, we've had a lot of negative experiences with a lot of Lord of the Rings community covering those things, but this community has been really helpful, you know, giving good constructive criticism on a lot of things in the comments and just being amazing people.
Yeah, it's been very welcoming. It's very comforting to, like, you know, just, you know, even when, you know, you tweeted that we were on, they were like, oh yeah, I'm so excited. Like, it's like, thank you.
Yeah,
I'm excited too.
I'm excited too. We were very excited to come on.
Yeah.
And so just a shout out to everyone in the community that's just been very helpful and kind to us, and, you know, making sure that we feel safe in this community, because it can, you know, it can be intimidating when you get to like a lore that's been so big so long.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to say thanks to everyone that's watching that know us and that have been following us since we started this, and we appreciate you guys.
Yeah, please go check out MVH, everyone. I think my mods put that link in the description here. The links to the channels are in chat, and the links are in the description. And yes, Hybrid Havoc, I said, if we could just stop dropping spoilers, yes. Please don't go in their comments and drop spoilers. They're trying to avoid them. So keep that in mind. And with that in mind, if you remember at the beginning of this, before it began, I reminded you my outro is full of them. So I'm going to recommend, and it's verbally too. So everyone else that's watching this is like, why does that matter? Well, I like to say goodbye to my guests at the very end after you all stop seeing us. So please do go subscribe to this wonderful people and enjoy their reactions for the rest of the season. And also, when I say the word smash to black, I highly recommend taking your earphones out and turning off my screen for a moment. It'll take about 2 minutes for the outro, and I'll come back on and say goodbye to you. But there's some verbal and visual spoilers in that outro. So you'll hear me say smash to black here in just a second. And thank you everybody that's been watching us. We have another show coming back on Wednesday night. We have a Wednesday, Thursday event. If you're out there watching, if you've ever watched Addison out there, Brandon and Kariana, they're from the Everyday Negroes YouTube channel. They also react to the show. We're going to talk to them Wednesday. And then on Thursday, we have our after show, which was like a weird thing. We do a pre-show, live watch, and after show. It's like a thing we're trying out this season. So I hope you'll come back on Thursday and actually watch that one with us too. Not you two, because there's lots of spoilers, but everybody else out there that knows we're in full book spoiler mode in most of those cases. So I hope you'll come back Wednesday and Thursday, all that are watching right now, and be with us here at the Dusty Wheel. It's been a fun Sunday afternoon. Thank you all for showing up. And as we say around here, good afternoon from the Dusty Wheel, and smash to black.
Welcome to the Dusty Wheel.
Hey, welcome back to the Dusty Wheel. You went right to kill it. Look at you, you're all ready. You're just done. I mean, this is like this is
really well. And now I'm like, great, my turn.
And if you don't like that, and you want to say, well, Robert Jordan could have made the two rivers all white. He could have, but he didn't. So,
just complimented me on my dress, and as you can clearly see, I'm not white.
I see Lukomi as something along the lines of a Shadow Haran analog.
It does make sense why it outlasted the breaking.
Yeah.
See, this is why I have Therese in the show, because she's going to correct everything that.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Dusty Wheel Show. What? Meme Off Challenge! Yay!
Terrible, like baby face mounted on like a huge body. So like all of a sudden,
this is not just a traditional fantasy, right? There are sci-fi elements.
And just a moment ago, Rafe tweeted something. So let me get my guests in here with me, and
probably I would say put in 70-80% of the work. I got to be over the shoulder and be like, no,